I also believe that even if the situation may be self-created or maybe self-driven, but also the point that you've put through, that to a great time it's because of the situations that surround you, that you left in no choice, because ultimately you, like you said, you like the work. I would like to share with you a similar scenario that I personally was in. One of the workplaces that I was in, and we were, and it was a team which had most of the population as women. And there people would actually make us work for like 7 days, and if you ever try to put through anything, we were simply told that, I mean, how is it that, why are you resonating to the fact that, not resonating to the fact that you're working. You should actually be thankful that you've been given these opportunities, and because you're at the start of this culture. So it actually put me into the clearer understanding that yes, it is driven by the senior officials. They may willfully or unwillingly promote a culture that possibly impacts a person's life to wavelengths. So if I may ask you, if this was something that I faced personally as a woman, because it was difficult to have a balance with both personal life and professional life. So if I may ask you, Prachi, what do you think is the grievous impact of corporate burnout on women, if I may ask?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a very great reference which you have given, especially coming from a workplace which was mostly populated, mostly constituting of female population, female employees. I feel when these kind of cultures, as I said, that it's beyond our control. When we enter into a workplace and we see things happening 360-degree in a certain way, and they are also made to be sound very correct when they are happening. My one of my previous organizations, they used to make it sound so correct, having it 6 days a week, as if that's the greatest thing which they are doing to our personal growth, and we cannot do much about it. Definitely, initially, we cannot do much about it. And women, I feel that their emotional quotient, their emotional intelligence is very high, and they try to take it very personally when they're dedicating themselves at an administration or at a management level. So we dedicate a lot. I think I won't compare it gender wise, but we still have a lot of stake when it comes to the growth of an organization which we are really trusting and we are believing in. So we try to be too much available and take too much seriously with all our principles and all our values when we are trying to take care of something. I feel that these kind of toxic cultures have both pros and cons when it comes to situations which are boasted or which are imposed or which are propagated by the management in a very unbalanced way. We definitely, much before or after a corporate burnout, are always in a state of assessment, being a woman when we are in an organization, as to how much it works and how much it adds to our value. Now, this is something which doesn't come on day one. This is something which needs some wearing and tearing. It needs to be broken to be open to this kind of a mindset. We need to be somewhere in pieces where we know that how we need to put it back together in our own customized way. So when these kind of things are very strongly, I would say, a part of a culture, be it working for late hours, or be it not getting allowances when you're relentlessly traveling, or be it having a 6 day or 7 day work culture, or being called or being available at any time. We might give in with our big goals, with our big aspirations initially to this, I would say. But eventually, when it comes to our own personal, I would say that inner voice, which doesn't come so easily when we are already a part of a process which is very loud and very bombarding from outside, it really gives us a choice to know that what we don't want in our work lives. Now, this kind of a self acceptance, this kind of a self belief is something which definitely comes when you feel confident enough to give in or not give in at the first place. I'll give you a reference, a very generic one, when it comes to college students having entry level access to their first interviews. It's very surprising to see that a lot of people in their interviews have a very strict preference about what kind of an overall presence they want in the organization where they are going, and they would want to give in to the circumstances and the culture, but they definitely would not be compromising with their boundaries. However, there are also people who personally choose to just be there, just marinate to the organization, just marinate to the entire culture, and later make the assessments and make the realizations as to what they want. So I would feel that when it comes to this toxicity, the main point of focus was for women's personal growth in these kind of situations to avoid a burnout before or after it has happened is that you really have some personal priorities set when you are trying to switch or trying to be in an organization for the first or for the gradual times, and see what you actually want by the end of the day from it. Are you looking for the right people? Are you looking for the right set of work? Are you looking for an overall well being? Are you a people person and you're looking for just the right amount of colleagues around you with whom you can hang out afterwards also? Because everything is available as far as it's chosen. That is something which we need to ask and know much before we try to step into an organization, and keep this something not as some, not compromise this in terms of the insecurities of getting a good job or something else. When we really try to rush into a salary bracket, or we really try to fasten ourselves on fifth gear into a certain kind of job or an offer or a team or some profile, we don't realize it personally, it really heads for a crash after a point. If we don't keep on personally being constantly honest and asking ourselves throughout the process, then am I relating to this? Am I ready to do this? Am I ready to resonate with this? And I think talking to your seniors, talking to your confidants, talking to your work mentors or your coaches, or being on platforms like this, or reading about it to relate it to your real life scenario is something which parallelly really boosts the process to understand that, okay, people around me think in a similar way. And they are also trying to struggle with their growth as a woman. They are also trying to be a part of a workplace and be comfortable. And there are also people who are promoting that if there are red flags which are totally unrelatable to your core, you can please step out and be in some other organization. So these kind of clicks and these kind of, I would say, validations also come when you try to reach out for help. And for that, when you actually at the first place has that have that clarity to be yourself by the end of the day in your work life also.
So, moving towards the last leg of our podcast, I would like to ask you, Prachi, if you could suggest some three, mechanism or some three conduct that an individual can undertake in order to avoid any kind of internal or external disturbances that may impact your corporate work culture, or may uh, you know uh, put you in a situation wherein you are impacted by corporate burnout. So, if I may ask you, then what three suggestions that you would give? Uh,
Definitely.
yeah.
Definitely. I think when we talk about self growth and we talk about the solutions or the conclusions we were trying to make in the answers, before this question, uh, the questions of knowing what you want, or knowing your boundaries, or trying to focus on your internal core, these are very big questions. I mean, these are not questions which are regularly asked by ourselves, to ourselves alone in the room. And these are not questions which can be very regularly answered also. And it's a process, it's a journey. So definitely there are tools, definitely there are mechanisms which very subconsciously, very indirectly try to keep ourselves close to ourselves. I would say that in any situation where it's not exactly a corporate burnout, but any kind of draining or disturbance or irritation or annoyingness which you're feeling around any work situation, be it what your manager told you a day before, or be it the workload which you have, or be it the kind of imbalance which you're feeling with not spending much time with your kids or with your partner, or in any hobby which you want to indulge in any of these situations where you feel that your job's weight is getting more thrown on you, your job is dominating you, your work, this is not what you want. This is not what you were looking for, or this is not what your plan was. And I think women come across these situations very, very frequently. These are some topics which are always, provoked in all kind of energies when we are sitting and we are chatting around each other. I think there are two facets in which we can address this. There are two, I would say, buckets which needs to be poured and filled in constantly. One is definitely when it comes to a lot of clarity around what your problem is. If there is a specific person or a specific situation which is constantly bothering you in terms of communication or in terms of work, it definitely can be spoken about. It can be spoken about very confidently by somebody official or somebody confident in the organization in terms of brainstormings. And that's something which we know exactly that, do we need to speak to some colleagues who are just friends? Or do we need to directly speak to some senior or some, person above us to identify the situation and see where the performance is lacking? That's something in which you faced an issue with the work and you raised an alarm in the work itself and you made the whole problem about work and you just try to solve it, and that's something which you are not seeing too much in repetition. I think that stops the thing there and then, and the red flag is something which is blown by you right in the beginning. However, there are multiple situations in which you don't exactly identify the problem, but it's happening at the work site. It's happening in your workspace, but you don't exactly know that what it is. There is where you need to touch the second bucket, and you need to see that what is right now exactly missing in your life, making you unsatisfied or unhappy about the job. What at your personal front do you actually want and you're not able to do? So, what I felt was that I was not exactly focusing on my routine. I didn't have a route on daily basis, and my job was, I would say, the most high profile thing in those 24 hours each day which I had. And I was not being able to identify with things which I connect with or do them very regularly or practice around them. So I think anything which you like, if you can you navigate or you can actually craft a space around your work, around your day cycle, around that and try to include that. It can be anything. It can be literally something in your food cycle or in your sleep cycle or in your day cycle, anything apart from your work cycle which you most relate with. That is, I think, a very big gateway from where you start knowing and start realizing what you actually don't want. And it's not something which is directly coming from your workspace, it's coming from within. It's something which is lacking or missing in your life, not your work life, and it actually bridges the gap between your work life and your overall life also, because when we enter into an environment, into an industry, into an organization, it's too overwhelming to bombard all facets of your life, but a work life is actually just a part of our life, I would say. So I think both trying to focus on your personal growth by very small things like a day routine or a night routine or a morning routine or your fitness routine or anything which you'd like to indulge in, starting with those bits every day. It can actually literally start with a skincare routine. If you really feel that you're too much burnt out or you're too much drained into the process and you can't have any self-care regime around you, or it can be literally a fitness routine in which you don't have to exhaust yourself more into the gym, but just go for a nature walk, or just try to indulge and be with your friends, or just try to write things. Anything which has been missing since you have been too much consumed into a situation, which you were doing 2 years back or few years back or in your childhood. So that really, I would say that give space to your free child or your inner child to come back and to just knock your doors and tell you where you're going wrong.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with you, Prachi, on that note that, a self-realization becomes the first key, and then understanding and, drawing line where, what exactly you want in life. So I think on that note, Prachi, I think we'll end our today's podcast discussion. Thank you so much for such an enriching session, and it also gave me a perspective wherein I, some places that rang the bell and something that I could also reconsider. And I hope our listeners also get to learn a lot from it.